The late afternoon sun cast long shadows over the city as Ethan made his way through the desolate streets leading to the outskirts. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding, the city's noises fading into a muted backdrop, replaced by the distant, ominous hum of the garbage dump that lay ahead. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, a mix of dread and determination driving him forward. Lucas's journal, worn and stained, was clutched tightly in his hand, the last piece of his brother he had left. As he approached the vast expanse of the dump, the air turned rancid, a pungent mix of decay and forgotten waste, assaulting his senses. Mountains of refuse rose like grotesque monuments to consumerism, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. Ethan hesitated at the threshold, the journal's final entry echoing in his mind. They are watching from the shadows. I can feel them. Pushing aside his fear, Ethan stepped into the maze of trash, his flashlight cutting through the encroaching darkness. The ground squelched underfoot, unidentifiable objects shifting unsettlingly beneath his weight. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional scuttle of unseen creatures and the distant clanging of metal. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the dump transformed. The shadows lengthened, merging into an impenetrable darkness that seemed to swallow the light whole. Ethan's flashlight flickered ominously, casting ghostly shadows that danced just beyond his vision. A chilling whisper floated on the breeze, words indistinguishable, but filled with malice. Ethan pressed on, navigating through the labyrinth of waste. His brother's last known location was somewhere within this hellish landscape, and he wouldn't turn back now. But with every step, the dump seemed to change, paths twisting and turning in impossible ways, landmarks shifting when he glanced away. Then, without warning, the whispers grew into a cacophony, a symphony of voices that clawed at his mind, each one dripping with hunger and hatred. Ethan spun around, his flashlight sweeping across the piles of refuse, searching for the source. That's when he saw them, eyes, countless eyes, glowing with a malevolent light, watching him from the darkness. Panic surged through Ethan as he stumbled backward, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The ground beneath him gave way, sending him tumbling down a steep incline of trash. He crashed to the bottom with a painful thud, his flashlight spinning away into the darkness. Before Ethan could recover, a figure emerged from the shadows, its form barely human, twisted and contorted. It moved with a predatory grace, its eyes fixed on Ethan with an insatiable hunger. The creature hissed, revealing sharp, jagged teeth as it advanced. Ethan scrambled to his feet, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He lunged for his flashlight, his fingers closing around it just as the creature leaped. With a desperate scream, Ethan swung the flashlight, connecting with a sickening crunch. The creature recoiled with a shriek that pierced the night, vanishing into the darkness from whence it came. Shaking with fear, Ethan clutched the flashlight to his chest, its beam flickering erratically. The silence returned, oppressive and mocking. He knew then that the horrors of the dump were far from imaginary, and Lucas was somewhere within, waiting to be found, or lost to the shadows forever. As Ethan rose to his feet, the wound from the creature's attack burned on his arm, a stark reminder of the night's reality. The dump was alive, and it had marked him as its own. With a resolve forged in terror and love for his brother, Ethan ventured deeper into the darkness, the journal's words a haunting mantra in his mind. They are watching. Ethan's heart hammered against his ribcage as he plunged deeper into the abyss of the dump, the creature's shriek still echoing in his ears. The pain from the bite on his arm throbbed with each heartbeat, a constant reminder of the peril lurking in the shadows. He knew he needed to find shelter, if only to collect his thoughts and tend to his wound. In the distance, a faint light flickered, a beacon of hope amidst the oppressive darkness. Ethan navigated through the mire of refuse, drawn to the light like a moth to a flame. As he approached, the source revealed itself to be a ramshackle hut, cobbled together from scraps of metal and fragments of wood, its windows glowing with the warmth of a fire within. Cautiously, Ethan knocked on the door, his voice hoarse as he called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" The door creaked open, revealing an old man with wild, unkempt hair and eyes that gleamed with a mixture of curiosity and madness. "Come in," the hermit rasped, his voice as rough as the terrain surrounding them. The interior of the hut was cluttered with an assortment of objects, each seemingly without purpose, yet held with reverence. The hermit motioned for Ethan to sit by the fire, its warmth a stark contrast to the chill of fear that had settled in Ethan's bones. "I know why you're here," the hermit began, his gaze penetrating. "You seek the one taken by the shadows, but you do not understand the darkness you chase." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. "My brother, Lucas, have you seen him?" The desperation in his voice was palpable. The hermit's eyes softened, a flicker of sympathy crossing his features. "I have not seen your brother, but I know the creatures that haunt this place. They are the Skinwalkers, cursed beings that dwell in the refuse, shrouded in darkness and malice." Ethan recoiled at the mention of Skinwalkers, the legends of shapeshifting beings that preyed on the unwary, flooding his mind. "The creature that attacked me, a Skinwalker," the hermit confirmed, his voice grave. "And with its bite, it has marked you. They will seek to transform you, to turn your despair into a weapon against those you love." The revelation sent a chill down Ethan's spine, the weight of his situation crashing down upon him. The hermit continued, "The Skinwalkers were once human, lost souls consumed by their own darkness. They feed on the misery of others, growing stronger with each life they corrupt." Ethan felt a surge of anger, a defiant flame burning within him. "How do I stop them? How do I save my brother?" The hermit leaned closer, the fire casting eerie shadows across his face. "The Skinwalkers' leader, the first among them, holds the power to curse and transform. Defeat him, and you break the cycle. But beware, for the path to him is fraught with peril, a journey that will test the very limits of your sanity." Ethan's resolve hardened, the fire of determination igniting in his eyes. "Tell me what I need to do." The hermit's expression darkened, a sense of foreboding filling the air. "Survive the night. They will come for you, drawn by the mark of the bite. You must prove yourself, for only then will the leader reveal himself. And remember, in the darkness of the dump, trust neither your eyes nor your ears, for the Skinwalkers are masters of deceit." As the hermit spoke, the wind outside howled, a symphony of whispers and cries that seemed to mock Ethan's plight. The hermit offered him salves and bandages, instructing him on how to care for the wound. "The bite is both a curse and a beacon. It will draw them to you, but it also grants you a glimpse into their world. Use it wisely." Ethan tended to his wound by the fire, the hermit's words echoing in his mind. The reality of his quest had taken on a new, terrifying dimension. It was not just a search for Lucas, but a battle against an ancient evil that sought to claim them both. As dawn broke, casting a pale light through the cracks of the hut, Ethan prepared to face the horrors of the dump once more. The hermit watched him go, a solemn figure, silhouetted against the flickering light of the fire. "Beware the shadows," he called out as Ethan stepped into the daylight, the dump sprawling before him like a monstrous entity, waiting to consume all who dared enter its domain. Ethan set forth, the bite burning on his arm, as a constant reminder of the night's terrors and the hermit's warning. Ethan trudged forward, his body aching from the night's ordeal, his mind reeling from the hermit's revelations. The bite mark on his arm throbbed with an unnatural heat, a vile reminder of the Skinwalkers' presence, and with each step, Ethan felt the weight of their gaze. The dump had transformed overnight. Pathways that Ethan remembered had vanished, replaced by insurmountable piles of detritus that seemed to shift subtly, as if alive. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and an unsettling silence hung over the landscape, broken only by the occasional distant crash or the unsettling scurry of unseen creatures among the refuse. Ethan's senses were on high alert, the hermit's warning echoing in his ears. Trust neither your eyes nor your ears. The whispering had started again, a low, insidious murmur that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. It filled Ethan's mind with doubts, whispering lies designed to break his spirit. "Lucas is gone," they hissed said. "You will never find him. Give up." But Ethan pushed forward, driven by the memory of Lucas's laughter, the bond of brotherhood that no darkness could sever. He clutched the journal tightly, using it as a beacon to guide his steps, though he knew the Skinwalkers could be manipulating his path at any moment. Suddenly, the ground beneath him gave way, and Ethan found himself sliding down a steep embankment of trash into a narrow, shadowy ravine. He landed hard, the air knocked from his lungs, the journal slipping from his grasp and fluttering into the darkness. Panicked, Ethan scrambled to retrieve it, his hands closing around the book just as he heard the sound of movement from the shadows. Ethan froze, the beam of his flashlight slicing through the darkness to reveal the twisted form of a skinwalker crouched not 10 feet away. Its eyes glowed with malevolence, and its mouth twisted into a grotesque semblance of a smile. "Join us," it croaked, its voice a chilling blend of human and something far darker. Refusing to show fear, Ethan stood, facing the creature with defiance. "I will save my brother," he declared, though his voice trembled. The Skinwalker laughed, a sound that chilled Ethan to the bone. "You cannot save him. He is already one of us." And as it spoke, the creature transformed, its shape shifting into a horrifying mimicry of Lucas's form. "Ethan," it whispered in Lucas's voice, "help me." The psychological torment was unbearable. Tears stung Ethan's eyes as he fought against the illusion. He knew it was a trick, yet the sight of Lucas, tormented and pleading, cut through his resolve. With a cry of anguish, Ethan charged, swinging his flashlight with all his might. The Skinwalker vanished before the blow could land, dissipating into a cloud of whispers that laughed at his pain. Shaken, Ethan retrieved his journal, the realization dawning on him that the Skinwalkers were not just physical threats, but masters of mental torment. As he continued his journey, the dump seemed to close in around him. The whispers grew more insistent, bombarding him with visions of his past mistakes, his fears, and doubts. Ethan saw his parents' faces twisted in disappointment, Lucas, his body contorted in the final throes of transformation, and himself, alone and broken. But amidst the cacophony of voices, a single clear note rang out. The memory of Lucas's determination, his courage in the face of adversity. Clinging to this memory, Ethan pushed through the psychological assault, using his love for his brother as a shield against the darkness. As night enveloped the dump once more, a palpable sense of dread settled over Ethan. The darkness seemed thicker, almost tangible, as if it were a living entity that breathed and moved around him. The grotesque mountains of refuse cast long, ominous shadows that danced and twisted in the feeble light of his flashlight, creating monstrous forms that seemed to watch him with unseen eyes. The air grew colder, a chill that seeped into Ethan's bones and made his breath visible in the night air. The whispers had grown silent, replaced by a suffocating silence that pressed down on him, making each step feel like a descent further into despair. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath Ethan's feet, a low rumble that grew into a cacophony of crashes and groans as the piles of trash shifted and moved, as if the dump itself were alive and writhing. Ethan stumbled, fighting to keep his balance as the earth itself seemed to betray him. From the depths of the shifting refuse, figures began to emerge, skinwalkers in various grotesque forms, their eyes glowing with a hunger that pierced the darkness. They encircled Ethan, closing in with deliberate, menacing steps, the air filled with the sound of their hissing breath, a chorus of nightmares made flesh. Ethan knew he could not run. The realization that this was the moment the hermit had warned him about settled in his heart like a stone. The creatures parted, and from their midst stepped a figure that dwarfed the others in both size and presence. The leader of the Skinwalkers was a horror to behold, its form shifting and changing, never settling on a single shape, as if it were a mass of darkness given life. Its eyes, however, remained constant, burning with an intelligence and malice that spoke of centuries of hatred and suffering. The darkness of the dump seemed to coalesce into a single point before Ethan, from which the ringleader of the Skinwalkers emerged. Towering and shrouded in shadows, the figure was a grotesque embodiment of the dump's malevolence, its eyes, burning with a cruel intelligence, fixed on Ethan with unsettling intensity. "You cannot defeat us," the ringleader's voice echoed, a chilling blend of mockery and certainty. "Your efforts are futile, and your brother, Lucas, is beyond your saving." Anger surged within Ethan, igniting a reckless courage. With a defiant cry, he lunged at the ringleader, only to pass through the figure as if it were made of mist. His attack landed on empty air, leaving him staggering forward, vulnerable and exposed. The ringleader's laughter filled the night, a sound as cold and merciless as the wind that swept through the piles of refuse. "Surrender, Ethan. Accept the futility of your struggle." Ethan's response was a roar of defiance. "I will not surrender. I will save Lucas." His voice carried the weight of his resolve, a stark contrast to the despair that sought to claim him. The ringleader paused, regarding Ethan with a gaze that seemed to peer into the depths of his soul. "Very well," it hissed. "I will release your brother if you embrace your fears, your aggression, and your inner anger. Transform into a skinwalker. Fight me as an equal." The proposal struck Ethan with the force of a physical blow. To become the very thing he despised, to lose himself to the darkness. "I can't do that," he whispered, the horror of the choice laid before him settling in his heart. "Then you will become nothing more than refuse in this dump," the ringleader taunted. "Why do you think the old hermit in the house has remained untouched? Because he fears nothing. He has lost everything, and we hold no sway over such emptiness." Ethan's eyes found Lucas, his brother's form limp and vulnerable on the ground. The choice was unbearable, the cost too great. "Run, Lucas," he shouted, a desperate plea filled with all the love and fear he held for his brother. But it was too late. Despair enveloped Ethan, and in that moment of utter hopelessness, he transformed. His body expanded, growing to a massive size, his skin morphing into the coarse, mottled hide of a skinwalker. His scale and strength were impressive, far surpassing that of the ringleader. With a primal scream, Ethan, now a monstrous reflection of his former self, attacked. The battle was brutal and short-lived. Ethan's newfound power was overwhelming, and he tore the skinwalker ringleader apart, the creature's screams echoing into the silence of the night. But as the adrenaline faded, Ethan realized the horror of what he had become. His transformation was irreversible. He had become the new ringleader of the Skinwalkers. The suffering and power of his rage had consumed him, becoming his new reality. Lucas, spared from transformation, woke to the sight of his brother, now a creature of the dump. The realization of Ethan's sacrifice. The cost of his freedom was a weight he would carry forever. Ethan, standing amidst the refuse of the dump, now its undisputed master, felt the pull of the darkness within him. Yet, even as he accepted his new role, a part of him clung to the memory of who he had been, of the love he had for his brother. It was a small light in the vast darkness of his existence, a reminder of the human he once was. The dump remained a place of horror, but now it had a guardian, one who understood both the depths of despair and the strength of love. Ethan, the new Skinwalker ringleader, ruled over his domain with a sorrowful heart. Forever changed by the night's events, his rage and power a testament to his sacrifice, Lucas fled from the dump, his heart pounding with fear and horror, as the image of his transformed brother seared into his memory. Tears streamed down his face as he sobbed, mourning the unimaginable sacrifice Ethan had made to ensure his safety. Under the ghostly light of the moon, which barely penetrated the dense canopy of the garbage dump, Ethan, now the new leader of the Skinwalkers, stood tall and monstrous among the twisted piles of refuse. His transformation had not only altered his form, but had imbued him with a dark purpose. Around him, the Skinwalkers gathered, their forms shifting uneasily in the night, eyes glowing with anticipation and hunger. Ethan's voice, now a deep, resonant growl that vibrated through the air, addressed the assembled creatures. For too long, our anger and despair have been confined to this forgotten place, he began, his tone commanding attention. We lurk in the shadows, feeding on scraps of fear and moments of weakness, but our potential is greater than the confines of this dump. Our rage, our hunger, should not be hidden away. The Skinwalkers listened, their restless movements ceasing as Ethan's words ignited a spark within them. He spoke of a world beyond the dump, a world teeming with the very emotions that fueled them: fear, anger, despair. We will go out into the cities, Ethan declared, his gaze sweeping over his new subjects. We will devour all those who are fueled by fear and anger. We will spread our influence, transforming not just ourselves, but the world. A murmur of excitement rippled through the crowd. Ethan's vision was radical, a departure from the hidden existence they had known. But it was his next words that truly galvanized them. This world corrupted by hatred and fear, ripe with the despair that feeds us, will no longer ignore our presence. We are the embodiment of its darkest emotions, and it's time we claim our rightful place. We will not be shadows skulking in the forgotten corners of the world. We will be the heralds of a new era changing the very fabric of society.